We've apparently passed our peak. Omicron is waning across the country, driving several states like Illinois and New York to say they plan to let their statewide public mask mandates expire. Everywhere, that is, except for schools. Governors of other states, including Oregon right next door, say they plan to lift their school mask mandates by the end of March. So what about Idaho? Well, we've never had a statewide mask mandate for any reason. We have had mask wearing requirements issued at the local levels. That includes counties, cities, and school districts. And that has proven to be a big problem, leading to protests outside health district offices and sending people to school board meetings to testify why they shouldn't send their kids to school wearing them. Well, last year, it also prompted State Representative Karey Hanks of St. Anthony to try to pass a bill that would have outlawed mask mandates everywhere. It ultimately failed. She tried again during the special session in November. That failed too. So Hanks brought it back this year. And this morning, she formally introduced it in committee where the public was able to testify. And the reaction was mixed for a number of reasons. Here's Katya Stepovic.
If people were dying in the streets and we felt that a mask would change that, then I believe that we would wear them.
I'm certain that if we had massive people dying in the streets because the disease was as virulent as we might hope, against, we wouldn't need mandates. Everyone would be protecting themselves automatically.
The same message 1 week apart. People aren't dying on the streets, but they are dying in hospitals. Almost 4,500 Idahoans dead from the virus since the pandemic began nearly 2 years ago. More than the population of St. Anthony, which Hanks represents. Wednesday morning, she argued for a third time in a little more than a year that mask mandates should be outlawed.
They're tired of the mandates and they're feeling ready to live with the risk that remains. And I think we're at the point in Idaho where we are more than ready to deal with whatever risks there are.
Of the 3 members of the public who testified on the bill, 2 supported Hanks' motion.
The younger kids who have grown up through this have lost an average of 20 IQ points, and that is devastating. And I would say that a big piece of that is likely because of masks, because children need to see faces in order to learn and grow.
But according to Dr. David Peterman, CEO of Primary Health, there's no evidence to support that claim.
There is no credible scientific evidence that masks in themselves cause anxiety or depression in children. There's absolutely no evidence that masks impact childhood development or learning. If you look at, for example, motor and language development in children that are severely visually impaired, it's equal to their peers.
He says what does impact child development is pulling them out of school because of COVID exposures. He says there is evidence that wearing masks indoors is effective against the spread of COVID. Take this, for example, a study by the CDC that was presented in the Idaho Health and Welfare's meeting Tuesday, showing that wearing a cloth mask lowers your odds of testing positive for COVID by 56%, a surgical mask 66%, and an N95 or KN95 83%. And people like Stephanie Mickelson, College of Eastern Idaho trustee, believe passing a bill like this would be nothing but harmful.
Government closest to the people is best, and the state of Idaho continually complains about the federal government, and yet here the state is trying to make rules that would then prohibit people on the local level from doing what they feel is best for their people. And individual school districts have boards that run them that can then determine if it's in the best interest of their people or the best interest of their group, whether or not to have mask mandates if there's a health emergency. And if we pass a law right now that says we prohibit that, what happens if you have something that is even more significant than COVID in the future? You have this bill that says you can't do that.
The bill passed in a party line vote with both Democrats voting against it. It now heads to the House floor.
The government's role is to secure the rights and freedoms of citizens and not dictate our health choices. And that's what these mask mandates are doing.
We're just talking about this, Katya. I can't believe we're almost 2 years into this pandemic and we're still talking about whether or not masks are good and effective or not. Anyway, beside the point, this obviously would be a law that if it goes through would mean that you can't wear a mask, right?
No, obviously you could still wear a mask. Those who choose to wear masks can continue to do so, but they would be around, many more people who probably wouldn't be, and it would no longer be a requirement. And then we do run into the issue, and I talked to Peterman about this, and the possibility of having bullying in schools that we have all heard about before, and it goes away both ways, rather, if you're wearing a mask or you're not. Just getting picked on, kids in differences, doing different things. And also another note here, Brian, this is really interesting. Since we first did this story last week, there have been an additional 76 Idahoans who have died from COVID. Although they may not be dying on the streets, people are indeed dying from this virus.
Absolutely. And just as you mentioned, more than the population of St. Anthony, where Representative Hanks is from. Thanks, Katya.